I'm here with Jim Kerr, and we're going to be talking about how to inspire leaders to change, something that I am really passionate about and something that I'm really interested in. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us, Jim. Where can people find you?
Tim, thanks so much for having me. Cheers to you and the team there at DLA Ignite.
Ignite.
Yes, I don't want to forget the Ignite part. Um, but yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on the website, which is indispensable-consulting.com. I'm on Twitter as well. It's James M. Kerr on Twitter. And yeah, so however they like to consume content or reach out, I'm open for it.
You're a big content creator, aren't you?
I guess so. I mean, I pride myself at doing my best to contribute to the betterment of leadership thinking. And as a consequence, yeah, I produce a lot of different stuff. I've got book number 7 coming out next summer.
7.
Yeah, so pretty excited about that. Um, but yeah, I I like to sort of help people think differently about what it means to be a leader.
So that comes as nice segue onto what are we going to do today, which is so what can we do to be better leaders?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's a mindset thing. And what I mean by that is leadership, in my mind, anyways, is truly a choice. You've got to choose to lead. The titles don't mean anything. Where you sit in an org chart doesn't mean anything. The thing that really will engage and inspire your team is your willingness to take the lead. So you've got to have the right mindset to be an effective leader, in my opinion.
And I think that you have to lead by example. My view is, if you want a particular behavior, then you have to have that behavior.
Absolutely. I mean, leadership's about them, not us, Tim. Right. So that means that you've got to be able to recognize that your role as a leader is about inspiring people to do their best work and to bring that uh, to the table every day. And that is effort. That's what people are looking for you to do. And if you can't provide that, if you can't inspire, if you can't engage, then you're probably not a very effective leader.
And I think it's become more difficult, hasn't it? Well, my view has become more difficult because when I first went into work, I was gonna I like a lot of us wanted to rebel, and then what we did is that we complied. And to a certain extent, the millennials did as well. And Gen Z are basically saying, no, 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 we're not going to do any of that. We're not going to comply. We're actually going to do what you promised yourself that you were going to do. We're not going to sell out.
Mhm.
And so we get this. There is this massive change in terms of the generations and the way that they want to work and what they want to get from work.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with that said, it's an imperative now to keep it simple. If leaders can get to the point, can help people recognize what's in it for them, then they're going to choose to follow. Just like what we did when we were coming up through the ranks, like you say, we learned to comply. But part of that complicity was basically recognizing that it was a means to an end, that we had to do these things to get to where we wanted to go. So I think the same is true. And to me, it's, I don't know, at the end of the day, it's part of the human condition. Sometimes you want to resist and until you recognize that there's something in it for you to actually, like I say, comply.
So, what's the number one thing a coach can do to help somebody, a leader, to change and to enable them to lead others?
Yeah, it's a question I get quite a bit, and thanks for asking that one, Tim. The thing that I work on with the folks that I coach is really about beginning with self-awareness.
Mm.
You've got to be in touch with who you are and what makes you tick and what your values are and so on in order to really lead others. And it starts between our two ears, uh, and it goes from there. So for me, it's all about self awareness and starting there, and then we work on things like self talk. How are you talking to yourself all day? What's that inner monologue like? Are you positive or are you negative? When you make a mistake, do you fly off the handle and stamp your feet and you know smash things, or are you able to handle it as a learning opportunity and grow from it?
Yeah, I think again, it's about we create the culture, don't we? We're the thing cutting through the ice. And if we go into meetings and we're a bully and we start swearing, then what does that say to our staff?
Right. Yeah. No, we've got to set the example, like you mentioned earlier. It's imperative for us to lead the way, and that means setting that good example to be the kind of leader that you'd want to follow, to provide people with the guidance and support that they need to do their best. And sometimes you've got to forgive yourself when someone lets you down. It just means that you thought they were somebody else.
Well, it happens. People get sick. People
Yeah,
leave. All of these things happen. And it's actually part of life, isn't it? It's actually part of leadership.
yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got to be able to guide and navigate through all the storms, and being sort of centered to being aware of how you're operating and how you're thinking is critical to being able to give your people what they need to lead.
Just so you know, we've had a comment from Jordan Thomas. He says he loves your content.
Oh, thank you, Jordan. So kind. Thanks.
And so as a leader, if I can become self-aware, what can I do in a way to kind of baseline where I am? Because if I'm here and I want to go to here, I don't know what the definition of that is. Is there a way that I can kind of baseline where I am?
Yeah, there's a couple of different things that I use in my leadership work. One part is again on the self sort of awareness side. It's a self assessment where you're assessing, how you're operating as a leader, and then on the other side, from the outside looking in, we do 360 work. And we talk to the people that you're leading, the people that you work for, the people you work with, your colleagues, and solicit input and feedback from them so that we get a fuller picture of what our starting point is. And then once we've got that baseline, once we've done that self assessment and received some feedback, we can start to determine what we want to actually change. What are the things we want to do to, as you say, to move from here to there, right? So we can define there, and then we're going to have to determine what steps are necessary to get there. And that's where we do a little bit of a gap analysis. We compare where we are to where we want to be, and then we translate that into some actions that we can take to start to move our way towards our goal.
So it's about getting that position and understanding that gap, and then working out the process to get to that. Um, so so um,
Exactly.
so I know when I worked in corporate, I did a 360,
Yeah.
which was I know 360s tend to be in fashion and out of fashion depending on, it's a bit like flares really. And I found it really really interesting because it wasn't so much the scoring, it was actually the free form text
Mm-hmm.
where people could actually make comments. and
Yeah.
and one particular person made this comment that, and it was like, I would never have got that feedback.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, the thing is, yes, to your point, the comments can be really telling. Um, you know, and that's why I think it's critical to do those things in sort of an anonymous way. so people feel a little more comfortable giving you the feedback that they maybe would feel uncomfortable telling you directly.
Yes,
And
because
and
it
when
was done anonymously, but
yeah.
I worked out who it was from the tone of what they're doing. Um, and I booked a meeting with her, and I said, and I basically said, can you give me more feedback? And it was one of those things where you go, I'd never, she said to me, don't underestimate the power of what you say to people.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it was like, oh, I haven't thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's such a common sort of trap for leaders. They don't recognize what kind of influence they yield, and the slightest gesture, even nonverbals, can really have an effect on the people who you're leading. And we've got to be aware of that and recognize, that we have this influence and use it, for the good, not for the bad.
Yes, I mean, as Spider-Man said, with great powers comes great responsibility.
Mm, indeed.
I bet you
I'm
didn't
a
expect. I
I'm a
bet you.
Batman.
I
I'm a
bet you didn't
Batman
expect
fan.
me to quote Spider-Man on here, did you?
No, I didn't, and I truly appreciate it, Tim. So thanks for doing that. But as I was saying, I'm a Batman fan, so I don't,
Oh, right,
you
okay.
know, yeah.
The
But I like
competition.
Spider-Man too. I like Spider-Man too.
So I think sometimes what I often find with leadership um, is that people can be a one-trick pony.
Yes.
They do something in the past, and then they say, "I did this 20 years ago, so I'm going to do it again now." What do you say about that?
Yeah. Well, it's that age-old statement, right? Never rest on your laurels. You know, we've got to push past our comfort zones ourselves to be effective. And the fact of the matter is, we're in a highly competitive work environment, and we need new ideas to be able to, like I say, inspire and engage others, to lead others. And we've got to be open to it. And we can't expect that what worked for us 10 years ago is still going to work 10 years from now. It's just, most of the time, it's not. And we've got to be open to learning, and recognize that we're on a growth journey ourselves as leaders, and be open to learning, and getting coached, and mentored, and developed.
I read the book. Was it The Billion Dollar Coach?
Mm,
Which was where there was a particular coach who died, and they took all the various notes. But it was so interesting, the fact that people like, so who gets coached? Steve Jobs had a coach.
hmm. Yeah,
And the two founders of Google have coaches.
sure.
And I can't remember who, but it was like, uh, so actually, if I want to be really successful, I need to have a coach, don't I?
You really do. And, world class athletes all have coaches. And what happens when they slump? What happens when these athletes don't perform at their highest level of capability? What do? They go to a coach who works with them, typically breaking everything all the way back down to the fundamentals, and then building it back up to world class stature. So that's what it takes to be able to perform at a high level. And certainly, why wouldn't we want to be coaching leaders to be exceptional, by providing them with the right kind of leadership coaching and instruction?
So, how can we define the activities and behaviors that we need to go from here to here?
Well, again, everything's situational and personal. So, you may need to be a better, I don't know, active listener, and I may need to be someone that handles stress better. Who knows? There's different
I
things.
think I need to get some CDs behind me, Jim, and then
Well, that is cheaper than therapy, I will tell you, Tim. So yeah, that's why that's back there. You can see I could use a lot of therapy, so I listen to music instead. Um, but all joking aside, I think it's a personal kind of thing that needs to be developed. So when we're working with someone and coaching them up, we're determining what they need, And then we're verifying with them, are you ready to change this about yourself? And because I can't change you, only you can change you. So I've got to make sure that we have sort of a mutual agreement that we're going to work on this. And if you don't want to, if you're not ready, or you think something else is more important to work on first, then we'll do that. You know, you're going to kind of lead the procession. And then once that's determined, then I'll bring in content, and that's one of the reasons why I produce so much. I can use a lot of stuff I've written or recorded, video and stuff as fodder for a conversation, and then work with that individual to sort of hone those skills or whatever that they're working on.
So yeah, and yeah, and I agree. And I think that one of the things that we need to do is understand that knowing and doing are two different things. We
Right,
want to change, but we may not, we may not do it.
right. Yes, I agree. And the there is that difference. The thing that I try to do with the folks I'm coaching is provide sort of a safe space for them to practice. And then I also encourage them to use the workplace as a practice field, quote unquote. Try this technique. Let's see if it works for you. Let's talk next week and let me know how it worked. And then based on their experience, we may adjust it a little bit or come up with a different idea. So it is sort of an iterative back and forth kind of collaboration, if you will, that I try to establish with the folks that I'm working with to help them just be the best they can be.
And is that part of that is actually having a sounding board that is not somebody who's within the company who's probably going to go and
Right.
tell teacher about you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I like to think of it as, we're in a partnership and we're working together. We're in it together. And I'm only as effective as you are, as someone that I'm coaching, right? So it's up to us to try to have these breakthroughs together, and I'm trying to facilitate that through the coaching experience, and things like trust and all that have to be established really early on, and certainly I can't be reporting back to somebody else about what's going on in our coaching sessions. There's uh, a privacy there that needs to be
Yeah,
respected.
yeah. I'm currently reading a manual about coaching, and I think the first six chapters are all about the coach's code
Hmm.
around not telling people and making sure that
Right.
things are confidential.
Yeah, have to be. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, what about different leadership styles?
Well, the thing with leadership styles, a lot of people like to think that the one thing that they do well should be applied in all situations, and that doesn't work. I think a leader has to read the situation and recognize what style to bring to be effective. So let me give you an example. There may be a place where you're going to start a new project and you're trying to get people revved up and excited about working on this project, and you may be using sort of some selling skills or vision skills, right? And you're articulating what this thing's all about and why it's important and so on. So that's a great skill to have. But if you're working with a team who's lost and floundering, you can do all the selling you want. It's not going to help that team get past where they are. So I've got to change my style. Now I may need to be more directive. Now I may need to say, you do this, I'll do that, someone else does the other thing, and get them through that uh, breaking point that they're on, so that they can be productive. So choosing the style is really important. Things like delegation is another one. A lot of people feel like, well, I'm a great leader because I delegate, and sometimes they delegate to people who aren't prepared to be delegated to, right? Who It's sort of like giving your kid the keys to the car and he or she's only 10 years old. They don't know how to drive a car, right? But you say, well, I'm empowering you. Here's the keys. Go ahead. Well, what's going to happen? They're going to crash the
Yeah.
car, right? So again, it's knowing when to use the style, and that comes with experience and practice.
Rob Longley agrees with you. He says coaching is definitely a partnership.
Yeah, Rob, thanks for that endorsement. Yeah, for sure. We're in it together. Simple as that.
So, Jim, behind you on your left, I think it is a book.
Mm.
Is that your book,
That
or
it
is that
is.
your sixth book or something?
Yeah, this is book number 6. It's
Yeah.
indispensable.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Hold it
really
up a bit. I
okay.
said, yeah.
They're gonna. Thanks for the plug. It's a selfish plug, Tim, but I
And
appreciate
and
that.
and wh- and wh- if I wanted to buy it, where would I go?
You can get it at Amazon or any place you get books.
Okay.
Came out a couple years ago. Like I said, I'm in the midst of writing book number 7, which will come out next summer. And in fact, I am using Routledge, a nice UK publisher from, I guess they began way back in the late 1800s. So it's really, really nice to be on their label, and that like I say, that'll be coming out next summer. Just finishing it now.
Excellent. And where can we find you and find your amazing content? Because you run a fantastic podcast, don't you? You get some really interesting people to interview.
Yeah, Tim, you were a guest, and I really appreciate it. We really got after social selling, and that was a great episode. But yeah, I'm heading towards the 50th episode. I'll be
Wow.
at 50, yeah, the end of the year here. Got a couple more to go. It's called The Indispensable Conversation, and you can find that just about anywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever.
And I can find you on LinkedIn, or your website is
Yeah, thanks again. It's indispensable-consulting.com.
excellent. Jim, thank you so much for coming on and sharing us your CDs. I mean, your
Next time, Tim.
I'm joking. As you know, I'm a big collector of CDs
Sure.
and music, and it's as you can see from it's a bit older than the CD. That it doesn't play them.
Yeah, no, I see that, and I admired it the very first time I saw it too. So good to you.
Thank
And
you.
and and Tim, thanks so much
You're
for
welcome. You're welcome.
having me on. I appreciate
You're
this.
welcome, and thank you so much, Jim, for coming on and sharing that. It's we all I'm the first one that needs to increase or do something with my leadership skills, and I need to do that every day. I know that.
Yeah, no, it's a journey, my man.
Yeah.